everybody. It's Kelly and Jim from the XFiles Preservation Collection, and we are thrilled to be speaking with Dean Aylesworth today. Hello, Dean. How are you?
Hello. I'm fantastic. It's so nice to see you guys.
Awesome to see you. I love being able to actually be able to see you in person.
Oh, it's really a pleasure. Let's do this.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. So we usually start off with how did you get into acting? How did you start this career?
Oh my goodness. How did I start it? I think I started it like most everyone, but I knew at a very early age that this is something that I wanted to do. Yeah, I am. When I was little, and I've got this whole story. I wrote it down, and it's even I've turned it into a short film. And my father passed away when I was very young, and when I was even younger than that, I would wake up in the middle of the night with nightmares, very much akin to the X-Files kind of nightmare. And I when I was really young, I would crawl into mom and dad's bed. But around 6, I would look down the hallway and I'd see the glow of the television, and I'd kind of sneak down the hallway, and there was my dad sitting on the comfy chair, with his, and kind of look around the corner, and he'd, with a twinkle in his eye, he'd kind of call me over, and he'd make room for me on the chair, and we watched all of the great, all of them. Humphrey Bogart and Marlon Brando, all in black and white, and in their glory.
Oh yeah.
And Dad always had a popcorn or a soda pop or something there, And when he passed, I would still have dreams, and I would go out there by myself, and yeah, and it sort of helped me. Which is, the after the fact, it helped me in my grief. But the interaction on the screen, the television screen, the people, what they were doing and how they were helping me as a young child live vicariously through those characters. And when those actors, those performers, those 10 people who are being tender with my soul, my purpose at that moment, the good ones really they affected me, they touched me, they made me want to do this thing. So long story short, sorry. I wanted to be an actor at like 6 years old, and and that's the reason that I do it, is because at that early age, it just, like I said, with my dad, it just touched me, just affected me. And then when he was passed, and that grief, and then being able to have some of the emotions that I wasn't allowed to have, say, within the family structure or whatnot, because they were grieving too, I was able to live through vicariously in those movies and those television shows, and that's what I've chose to do. Yeah, to sort of be a good conduit by the same standard.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I can kind of relate a little bit. I was introduced, to movies and television and all types of genre, of course. My oldest brother was a big John Wayne fan, and he was definitely a Clint Eastwood fan, and he also liked horror and stuff. So I was a real young guy, and I was watching movies and stuff, and I remember going to the drive-ins with him. We saw old school movies, some the original John Carpenter movies, so I kind of relate a little bit to what how it was for you a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah.
Plus, it's always like an escape. It's a way to get away from reality.
Yeah.
and when it's done with, I think, with a certain reverence, and that's usually by the whole company. When it's done with reverence and with a joy, I think, like you just did, that relative, what has gone on in my life and what sparked me and what is we have much more in common than that separates us in this.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Absolutely.
So you always knew you wanted to be an actor. What was your big breakthrough? How did you get started?
Well, I'd been doing lots of performing since I was little. And of course, I'm the youngest of four, and all of my siblings were subject to me having to sing at their weddings or things like that. I kind of an entertainer really early on, and then stage plays, little things, in school and things like that. I grew up in kind of a strict religious background, and it was sort of frowned upon to be outside of that religion, and so my secular, being able to do anything other than school was really limited. But I would always rebel, and I would always get in trouble. But I would get cast in the play, or I would get in the choir or whatnot. And my very first professional outing was at the Edmonton Fringe Festival, and I wasn't even performing, and I had went to help one of my friends who had come from Vancouver, and I was living in Calgary, Alberta at the time, and we went to Edmonton, and I helped with the whole production of it, and I had just come off of for the Calgary Theatre Festival. I just won a Best Actor award, and the Edmonton Fringe Festival was my first professional. You're coming and you're going to be, I can't remember, what do they call it when you're you're the other guy. I had to be for both parts, and so it was like
like an understudy kind of thing.
The understudy for both parts. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and I took it very, very seriously, and I'm 17 at the time, so yeah. And that very summer, I moved to Vancouver, Canada, with I think I had $300 in my pocket, and a couch to crash on, and and then I made my way by. The first thing I did is I of course, I got a job, with some friends and whatnot. We worked in this little place called the Sample Room here in Vancouver, right next to really all of the industry in I think it's called it's not Gastown, but it's the other one. It's right on mainland, Yaletown. That's what it's called. And in Yaletown, there's all of these businesses. I met by delivering lunches, and to all these places, I met all of the film people that I eventually met and worked with in the industry. I met them there, and then saw them again in an audition maybe years later. It was quite funny. And my first big gig was Neon Rider. Yeah, I don't know if you guys get that.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
It was a local production, but it was national here in Canada. Winston Record, he was on Stargate. He's done. I think he was on the XFiles as well. He had this show about these sort of runaway kids and people, sort of him fostering them and taking them on. And it was really, I thought it was a very charming show about, about growing up and, maybe a little rebellious or a little, it was good. And that was my very first guest star role. I think, oh my God, what year was that? 91, 90 something? Yeah.
Awesome.
How was that experience?
At first, it was daunting. I was a little concerned. I always knew that I could do it, but I was a little concerned that that I would get a big head, that I would be consumed by whatever else was going on as opposed to the work. And so I really tried to focus on the work. And that was the first time I had an autograph signing, and I was pretty flattered by that. That's for sure. Yeah, it was neat, and
I had to
I
be.
loved it. Yeah.
I had to be. I had to be something.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
then, go ahead. So then,
Yeah,
how did you finally come to be? How did you get involved with the X-Files? Like,
how did I
you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it vividly. The whole process. There was another television series called Millennium, and the same casting directors were doing Millennium, and they were casting the X-Files as well. A lovely couple of ladies, and they saw me a couple times, and for Millennium, and they called me in for this specific role, and but it didn't have a title. It didn't have, it was kind of obscure.
Yeah.
But it was with Chris Carter, and I'd seen Chris Carter a couple times from Millennium, right? So it wasn't really going to be an issue. I went in there, and I actually it was an audition where I had a letter that I had to read, and then and that was it, right? Well, it turns out that was the introduction of young Bill Mulder on the X-Files, and the letter that I was reading was this letter that the cigarette smoking man had asked and inquired about, and it was the first words that my son had ever said, Fox, was AFK, and that was the letter. And of course, I wrote to myself in the audition. I wrote on this piece of paper that I opened up and made look like a letter. I wrote to myself, "You've got this part. You can do this. Don't worry. You've got it."
That's awesome.
Wasn't it? It's a little foresight. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
And you were right. You had it. So.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. I probably didn't spell it properly because of my dyslexia, but it was, I knew what was said. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. That's all that matters, that you believed in yourself and got it.
Yep.
At that time, well, Millennium was happening, so you were aware of how big the X-Files was. I mean,
I kind of knew it was happening, but I just assumed it was just a small, it was just this one line, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, it turned into, something that they said, they surprised me with the reoccurring of it after the fact, once I was there on set.
Yeah. Oh.
And that I would be coming back. That the Mulder line, the very last Mulder line that the cigarette smoking man says, wasn't actually in the script. At least it wasn't revealed to me. And so I didn't know what that guy was. You know what I mean? I just thought I was a soldier, and because it said #1 soldier, and then it said say this line, right? Just probably to make so that we weren't too uncomfortable. I would assume. I thought it was a very gracious way of going about it.
Yeah, absolutely. In the episode Travelers, when you were doing the episode, or when you read the script, and I mean, it was totally different, because you didn't have Mulder and Scully literally in the episode, and this dated back into what was it, the 50s or something like that, kind of like the birth of the X-Files.
The birth of the first X-Files.
Yes.
Yes, the first and that they were even titled that by young Bill Mulder. You know what I mean? And then it was, I think, the character's name was Edward Skur.
Yeah.
Edward Skur.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've actually maintained a friendship with the same gentleman. I haven't seen him for quite some time. Who played that part, Edward Skur. Yeah, he's gone on to do quite a few things. Yeah.
Awesome.
Gerard. Yeah. No, Garrett Delahunt. I'm sorry, I've had two different words. I'm like, where's my brain? Yeah, Garrett.
Garrett.
Yeah, but the episode Travelers, I mean, it does not get the love that it should, because of course, Mulder and Scully are not in it, but I mean, it is such a different kind of episode, and I'm a huge fan of episodes that were back in that time where the country was,
Wow, right?
pro
Right.
America. They, and I mean, you had, like the Men in Black were starting to come around a little bit.
It was- yeah.
Everybody believed the government.
Totally.
I've actually gotten a friend of mine to write like a backstory. It's a whole series
Right.
of from like 1949, and it's called Groom Lake, and it's based on all of this stuff we're talking about now, the original X-Files and the relationships that we had with the otherworldlies and all the rest of the stuff, and I plan to play one of the villains on it. So yeah, it's very, very good, and I agree with you with Travelers, but I have to say it was very well received. It certainly wasn't like you say, because Gillian and David weren't starring in it and on it. It was so different and unique and eclectic and we saw what was his name, that guy? It was such a pleasure. I actually got his autograph and everything. Darren McGavin.
Yes, Darren McGavin.
Yeah, Darren.
Right?
Yes, definitely.
And he was like the original. He had a television series way back, I think called Kolchak.
Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Kolchak the Night
I'm actually getting things. I'm saying right things. Okay, good. It's just like I recognized him from A Christmas Story. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, yeah. And I had to get his autograph, and he was so sweet to me. Yeah.
Old Darren McGavin.
Yeah. A little trivia. When Christmas Story, Darren McGavin, when that was very first released to the theaters, believe it or not, it was a box office bomb.
Yeah.
Really?
It was a box office bomb, but when they introduced, VHS and all that, that's when it started picking up a following. And
Now it's a classic.
yeah, people don't realize Darren McGavin was a huge stage performer. He also starred in, I think I could be wrong on the date, but it was the 60s. He played Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. He's such a prolific actor.
Everything. Yeah, amazing actor. And that once again, like I say, it's because of those different performers, those different and eclectic storyline, and without our stars, if you will, it was definitely a different X-Files, and I was just so pleased to be a part of it, a part of that storyline, and to have that explored and looked at, and to have such a they were just so good to me and so kind to me, and then just like I was surprised every time that they kept coming. Yeah, I was like, so I did the first one, and then Travelers, and then I did Demons as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and each one of them was just a pleasure. Yeah, they've even been so kind as to like let me do different versions and things like that when I asked. Yeah, it was really cool. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've heard good stories from the other casts and all the crew members and stuff.
It's synonymous to the show, but also, like I was saying earlier, the ensemble. It's important that we all care.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it shows in the work. And I'm not trying to be, maybe I am. I'm sort of cheesy, but it really comes down to that. It's heart and soul.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
That's what, makes it special.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to Travelers, what made that episode so good, the more I watch it a lot, the more I watch it, the more I like it. But what makes it so good is all the characters, everybody plays a part, but they're all so darn good, And I can't remember the actor's name, the one that you filmed your scenes with, the bad government guy.
The guy's been in everything, right? Yes.
His character was, he was so smug in that episode. He really was.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
And who would have thought, some alien creature coming out of the mouth.
That's creepy.
Right? heck? Yeah, I agree.
It was good. I totally enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, matter of fact, I've got a screen used case file from that episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The one thing that I remember that was just like it was cutting edge was having seen earlier in that very year, I saw the picture Forrest Gump.
Yep.
And Forrest Gump was interacting with JFK and all of these other characters with a green screen behind him.
Yeah.
And I had the pleasure and honor of doing exactly that on the where I was in the they were questioning us about communism or whatnot at the McCarthy hearings, I believe.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where they discovered me. And so we did this green screen and it showed, yeah.
It looked so real. Yeah.
It was the first time television had ever done it. And I'm like, there's this green screen. And he said, oh, just do this and, sit there and pretend like you. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. I said, don't say anything. Or he's like, yeah. And it was just so easy. And he just filled me right in. And it was so well done, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. When you watch the final product,
yeah,
it's like, wow, it looks real.
Definitely.
It was totally. I was just blown away by the simplicity of it. It just, or at least my little job. I'm sure it was very much more complex than what I had to do. My little job was very simple.
Yeah. Probably a little harder behind the camera.
Right. But you will always be, part of the X-Files family, and you're a part of X-Files history. So that's always going to stick with you.
Well, I'm truly honored to be a part of it, and I've met most everyone on this. I actually studied with William Davis before he even got this part. He had acting class in school here in Vancouver. So, I've been I know Nick Lee quite well, and he actually helped me with getting one of my agents in Vancouver, some time ago. And he's a lovely man. And, everyone that I've had relationships with, Chris Owens and whatnot from this show, Dean Haglin, and have all been, just really tight, very kind and open and welcoming. Yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Awesome.
It's great,
Yeah, definitely. So were you a fan of the X-Files?
I think I was. Yeah, I certainly liked it. My problem was that I was working. I was really trying to to have a life of some sort. So I was working at the Hard Rock Cafe at the time. And I had kind of long hair. I have hair now, but I had this long hair, and and I had done this role on the Neon Rider show, and then and it required my hair, and I'm focusing on this job, and I cut my hair, and I go for this audition, and I'm working but I'm not watching on Friday nights. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did have friends who had a VHS recorder.
Yep.
And they would tape it for me. So yeah, I was just catching up by the time when I went in for the audition to know what the show was about. You know what I mean? Like we were into the third season.
Yeah.
By the time I was auditioning at that point. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you do you remember any of the episodes of the X-Files?
Oh goodness. Of the show itself?
Yeah.
I can remember seeing the 7,000 different faces of Gillian Anderson. Do you know what I mean? Like she just evolved and was she just blossomed and bloomed, and you know what I mean, into so many different things. So I was pretty much enamored by her performance, her great American accents. Do you know what I mean? Like she was, and of course David, in his consistent lower tone, keeping it chill so that when something big happens that they could have something. Do you know what I mean? So
right.
It just consummate. But that of course was also in concert, if you will, with with Kim Manners and with all of the rest of the production, that they were just, the writers too, just amazing writers. I have to say, that was the big thing about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
How they would hold the suspense line through an episode, even for us as viewers to want to go and come back the next week. You know what I mean? And not so much to see what the new X-Files was, but what their relationship was and what was going on behind the scenes with what's his, it wasn't Deep Throat. Was it Deep Throat? Did they call him Deep Throat?
In the beginning, and then there was Mr. X.
That's right. Because Deep Throat was from Watergate, right? That's a totally different thing. Yeah. Okay, cool. The Canadian here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we would ask you if you had a favorite episode, but I don't know if you've watched consistently or not.
Oh,
Is there anything that stands out?
There was one guy that really, it was this, it wasn't a guy, it was a voice, and it was a tattoo. And it was Never Again.
Never Again.
Yeah. That's pretty much my absolute favorite. It was Jodie Foster did the voice. So it was like, and she's amazing. So yeah. But I have to say, I really am a big fan of Jack Black and Giovanni Ribisi, and they did an
episode.
There we go.
Right? And they did an amazing episode together. And that one's another one of mine. So yeah, I mean, but I don't remember the names of things, and sorry.
The one that has Jack Black and Giovanni is DPO. That's my favorite episode. So from DPO.
She's a DPO episode freak.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's so great, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they do such a great job? Like
they did. Yeah.
And their performances and who they were, it transcended into every other film and every other appearance you ever saw them in. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just such a wonderful platform, Yeah.
Yeah, Giovanni Ribisi. I mean, he just that part he played. It just blows you away,
Yeah.
Right? He just did such a great job, and to consider, his age and the range that he had and everything that was going on with him at that point in time. Yeah, and he's still an amazing and consummate actor. He gets better and better with every performance. It's an inspiration, because that's what I want to do. Just get better and better at what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, it's kind of everybody in life should want to get better and better. In life general.
Yeah, and we'll get the paychecks up. Better and better too.
That sounds really good.
That's how it should work.
Yeah.
Well, I want to try and do this Groom Lake television series thing. We've got a whole pitch and everything for it, and
that sounds very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring it to Chris Carter, before I brought it to anyone else, and it's still, I think, still sitting on his desk. I haven't heard too much about it yet.
Good old Chris.
Yeah,
well, he likes to write his own things too. At least as far as the Bible of it is concerned. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So you were also on other shows too.
Yes,
you were on Stargate, and I did not know you played in Supernatural.
Oh yes, yeah. I was a Hunter Winchester. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and they hanged me like right the away. It was like, yeah.
Okay.
Interrogated me. Anamidala. What's her name? Anadala.
I can't
remember
the names, but this beautiful woman. Who, she's like this bag spirit woman with red hair and stunning features where and she commanded the screen quite well, and in just a matter of seconds I was being interrogated and held captive by these two guys, and the one guy's telling me where's Dean and where's he, and I'm like, screw you, you know what I mean? And then the guy punches me in the face, and I just laugh at him, and then she says, hang him. So they start pulling me up, and I'm like, I'm getting pulled by this rope. It was it was quite amazing. And then that was the end of the scene. It's such a blessing to be a part of it before it went down. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. Like I find out, like people like you, I never knew that was you. So now I'm gonna rewatch that episode, and be like, oh, that's Dean. And it's gonna be a whole different experience.
Oh yay! Yeah, Supernatural was so cool. They were such cool people, and they've been at the game for a long time too. It isn't Jared Padalecki, I believe that's his name.
Yeah, Padalecki.
Isn't he going on to be the new Walker Ranger?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, I have not seen it. I'm
He's loyal to the original Walker.
I'm loyal to Chuck Norris, the original.
Me too.
I have a hard time with when
He
they
grew up with Chuck,
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to make that.
I have a hard time with, like, what do you call them? Reboots. They reduced. I've got a hard time with that stuff.
Of the ones, yeah, especially if the shows that were like your childhood.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think the writers have to consider that suspension of disbelief. You know what I mean? That we all have to do, right? Like in every film that Tom Cruise is in, each one of us as viewers have to suspend our disbelief that he is no longer Tom Cruise. He's the character that's being presented on film, not the last one that we suspended our disbelief on, but this one in this case. And it takes a little bit of, it's like hypnosis almost, like in the first 3 acts. You know what I mean? Like all of it, you've already accepted him in the first 3 seconds, hopefully. Right.
Yeah.
Well, this goes to, you were in the television show Stargate, and that was technically a spinoff from Stargate the movie with Kurt Russell.
Yes,
And how was your experience in Stargate?
Oh, tremendous. It's also and continues to be a relationship that's nurtured and constant, and such great and long-standing friendships that I had already had from 21 Jump Street with Peter DeLuise to
Wow.
yes.
And, I got to rewatch that.
Well, 21 Jump Street. Yeah, and also on 21 Jump Street, didn't Mr. X, Stephen Williams, he played in 21 Jump Street.
Wow.
He was the precinct's officer. That's right.
Yeah.
I know quite well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Yeah. That was the beginning of my career. I did, like, when I first said, I was delivering, I started delivering food, right? Well, my next job was as an extra on 21 Jump Street for a year and a half. It was like the longest standing extra jobs that anyone would ever get, because we were the background of this precinct, and the precinct had young people pretending to be teenagers in high schools, infiltrating the drugs and the violence and the sex that was going on at the time. And so they had to have this, I guess, grounding point, where people would come back to and they see a familiar face in there. And we were they were called the Chapel Gang.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It was
that's
cool.
really cool.
I didn't know
You
that.
know?
Like, it's so funny now. Once you see somebody, then you like go back and watch your shows. And like we were watching an old rerun of A-Team, and I saw Mitch Pileggi. I'm like, holy crap.
I know. Oh,
Yeah.
man. Oh, there's so many people and so many, and speaking of Stargate and Richard Dean Anderson has been in, MacGyver.
MacGyver.
You know what I mean? Oh, and such talent, so effervescent and fun, and my having been involved with Stargate, like I said, has just been exactly that. It's a pleasure, and it keeps giving. The fans are very adamant,
Loyal. Yes.
loyal, adamant. They're very intelligent, and they're considerate of every aspect of that production, and I'm floored to be a part of it, and I'm grateful for it. Yeah, and I use the experience and hopefully to go on to new things as well. But boy, oh boy, yeah, Stargate and the X-Files. I'm just blessed, to play such iconic characters as well. Anubis. It's like what? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
You know?
amazing. Yeah. I'm gonna have to rewatch all my old TV shows now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an old school classic kind of, old school shows.
Sure.
I really don't watch too much of the like new stuff. And when you watch some of the old stuff, you're seeing all these big actors,
yeah.
in cheesy roles starting out, and it's just
yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they take that? It's like because that's what all that was offered to them.
right.
That's how you start, man.
Yeah.
At it, right? It was as far as being an extra. I didn't have any money for school. I didn't have the certain things. And this, I'm still young. I'm 17, 18 at the time, and I'm learning from the best. I'm watching and I'm paying attention. I would sit behind video circus and just kind of always be there and watching. Because I didn't know, I come from the theater. I needed to know what a mark was, how to, without it being obvious, how to get to a mark and how to, how to be natural, how to be relaxed, or, maybe how to be uptight and all those things. Such a pleasure to be involved in a company like that. Johnny and Peter and Dustin and Holly and everybody that was involved. Yeah.
No, it's amazing.
Wasn't Richard Grieco on that too?
Did show up for a little while there. That's true. Yeah. And then he got his own show.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Wasn't it like
Booker?
Yeah.
Booker. Everybody thought Richard Grieco was in 21. He was just so cool.
Yeah, they called him the next Brando. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brando, that's some stuff.
Yeah.
That's some big shoes.
Weight. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't want that.
Amazing actor, and as far as technique is concerned, just a master craftsman. But that's really, where it all ends. It's like we as performers, we can shed. We get a great opportunity to shed the ego and all the stuff that we've gone through in our lives, all the story that we all have, and become this other thing. Now, of course, we bring all of those other things that were happened in our lives, and because we can touch from our emotions to that time, to that moment, right? And that's the grounding point to go back from there to the character. But to be able to shed all that responsibility, all that, and to be in this freeing space where you can conjure magic in your own hands and fly and all these other things, is pretty lovely.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's all my questions. Did you have any other questions?
It's all my questions. I got everything.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh, I have so much more to say. I'm just kidding.
Well, if you've got any more stories, we'll definitely listen.
Right. Yeah.
How many more stories? I've got, I'm sure there's probably 2 or 3 more, but I can tell you how much how much I had learned from Kim Manners specifically. He because of my experience on Jump Street and just sitting behind the director and the producer and the writer and watching in Video Village, just watching how everything was. I took that experience and I brought it with me to XFiles, and I did the same thing. Whenever I wasn't on camera, I would stand behind and watch. Of course, try not to bother anyone or anything else like that. And Kim was kind of a quiet, when, like, don't get me wrong, he could be very loud, but he was sort of a quiet guy. He used, he was quick with what he knew. Do you know what I mean? Bah, 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 bah. This is what we want. This is it. And he sort of took a liking to me, and I certainly took a liking to him. And he told me all about the framing and the camera and what was going on. And this is for the international market, and this is Japan. And he always said, "Screw Japan." He was just so funny, and he was always about his low blood sugar, he you know, Snickers bar, you know, and yeah, Kim Manners was pretty great. That's if there's one real, you know, legacy that I'd like to obviously, you know, keep paying homage to is Kim. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. You know.
We always like a Kim Manners story because
Yeah.
that's one of our like big regrets. We never got to talk to Kim Manners. So
Right.
anytime you want to tell me a Kim Manners story, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Oh well, then that's a pleasure. You know, that's at least that little bit of his spirit. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. He was a big part of the XFiles.
Absolutely, he was. You know, and he is truly missed.
Yeah. Yeah, and but his memory keeps moving on. I've even seen in the newer episodes that Kim was paid homage in with
that headstone.
Yeah, the headstones, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And unless you know what I mean, like you guys have in your background behind you, you know what I mean? Unless you know what's up there, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because there's so many things, and unless you know, it's those little eggs and those. Is that what they call them? They call Easter eggs, right?
Easter eggs, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
Definitely. It was awesome to see that.
absolutely.
I remember when I was working at the Hard Rock Cafe, and I'd already done the very first episode. I think it was called Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man.
Yep.
And then I'm serving. You know, food at this restaurant that every once in a while a song would come on and you'd have to sing. You know, I would lead the Macarena. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and all that. Yeah, it was quite. It was, and I remember going to a table, and it was a birthday party, and there was a mother there and quite a few, maybe about 12 younger people, around 17, 18, and. You know, I'm happily looking after everyone. And the mom says, can you sign this? And I went, what? What do you mean? And it was the coaster from the Hard Rock Cafe. I'm like, can I? Yeah, I can sign this. She goes, because you were on the XFiles, right? And I was like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot. So I was like, this is my first. And I was like, okay, yes, I'll sign that. There you go. And she presented it to her son as like this birthday present that he didn't know. And it was like this big surprise to him that young Bill Mulder was serving his table at the time. And I'm like, oh, would you like some fries with that? You know? Yeah, it was really quite a humbling experience. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can imagine that. You know.
He's not going to forget it, that's for sure.
No, he's not. He had a good birthday.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Definitely.
I've been, you know, very, very honored for you guys to have invited me. Thank you so much for being, you know, interested in the journey and everything that we've done so far, and you know, and hopefully, you know, things that are coming up in the future are gonna
Absolutely.
hopefully we can relate to it as well, you know, in the same way. Yeah, because like you said, some of the newer things are a little difficult in the communication. It's some things are missed. It's not that that people aren't trying. It's just that it's not the A-Team. Do you know what I mean? It's not Stephen J. Cannell. It's not, you know, it's not those old shows, right?
Exactly. You know.
Yeah. But we'll be keeping our eye out for your Grooms Lake.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very good. And you guys got to know that I'll be bothering you with here's some more information. Here's some more information. Yeah.
Good.
Hey, we're game.
All right. Hey, you guys, thank you so much. And thank you for continuing to show interest in the XFiles and everything XFiles. And hey, man, it's meant a lot to me, and it continues to be a pretty big deal. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it, and we thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being on the XFiles, because without you, it wouldn't be the same.
I'm so blessed, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.